People's Front for Democracy and Justice is the only legal party in Eritrea. Other political groups are not allowed to organize, although the unimplemented Constitution of 1997 provides for the existence of multi-party politics. The National Assembly has 150 seats. National elections have been periodically scheduled and cancelled. None have ever been held in the country. President Isaias Afwerki has been in office since independence in 1993. In 1993, 75 representatives were elected to the National Assembly. The rest are appointed. As the report by the UN Human Rights Council explained, no national election have taken place since that time, and no presidential election have ever taken place. Local or regional election have not been held since 2003-2004. The National Assembly elected independent Eritrea Free President Isaias Afwerki in 1993. Following his election, Afwerki consolidated his control of the Eritrean government. President Isaias Afwerki has regularly expressed his disdain for what he refers to as Western-style democracy. In a 2008 interview with Al Jazeera, for example, the president stated that Eritrea will wait 3 or 4 decades, maybe more, before it holds election. Given that the full implementation of the Joint Declaration of Peace and Friendship between Eritrea and Ethiopia is still incomplete, the Eritrean authorities still do not consider that peace agreement is formally implemented. However, local elections have continued in Eritrea. The most recent round of local government elections were held in 2010 and 2011. The Eritrean Defense Forces are now the official armed forces of STATE of Eritrea. Eritrea's military is one of the largest in Africa. Compulsory military service was instituted in 1995. Officially, conscripts, male and female, must serve for 18 months minimum, which included 6 months of military training and 12 months doing regular school year to complete their last year of high school. Thus, around 5% of Eritreans' life is barracks in the desert doing projects such as road building as a part of their service. The National Service Proclamation of 1995 does not recognize the right to constitutes obsession to military service. According to the 1957 Ethiopian Penal Code adopted by Eritrea during independence, failure to enlist in the military or refusal to perform military service are punishable with imprisonment terms of 6 months to 5 years and up to 10 years respectively. National service enlistment times may be extended during times of national crisis. Since 1998, everyone under the age of 50 is enlisted in national service for an indefinite period until released, which may depend on the arbitrary decision of a commander. In a study of 200 escaped conscripts, the average service was 6.5 years, and some have served more than 12 years. According to the NYU School of Law, the Legal Committee of the Ministry of Justice oversees the admission and requirements to practice law in Eritrea, although the establishment of an independent bar association is not provided under Proclamation 88/96. Among other domestic laws, there is no bar association. The community electorate in the local jurisdiction of the community court chooses the court's judges. The community court's standing on women in the legal profession is unclear, but elected women judges have reserved seat. Eritrea is a member of the United Nations, the African Union, and is an observing member of the Arab League alongside Brazil, Venezuela, and Turkey. The nation holds a seat on the United Nations Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions. Eritrea also holds memberships in the International Banks for Reconstruction and Development, International Finance Corporation, International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, Non-Alignment Movement, Organization for the Prohibition of the Chemical Weapon, Permanent Court of Arbitration, Port Management Association of Eastern and Southern Africa, and the World Customs Organization. The Eritrean government previously withdrew its representative to the African Union to protest the EU's alleged lack of leadership in facilitating the implementation of a binding border decision demarcating the border between Eritrea and Ethiopia. The Eritrean government has since January 2011 appointed an envoy, Tesfa Alem Tekle, to the AU. Eritrea maintains diplomatic ties with a number of other countries. It has over 31 embassies and consulates abroad, and over 22 consulates and embassies represented in the country, including China, Denmark, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Israel, the United States, and Germany. Its relations with Djibouti and Yemen are tense due to the territorial disputes over the Dumeir Islands and Hanish Islands, respectively. On 20th of May 2019, the United States removed Eritrea from the counter-terror no-cooperation list, which also includes Iran, North Korea, Syria, and Venezuela. Moreover, Eritrea was visited 2 months earlier by a U.S. congressional delegation for the first time in 14 years. The undemarcated border with Ethiopia is the primary external issue currently facing Eritrea. Eritrea's relation with Ethiopia turned from that of courteous mutual tolerance following the 30-year war for Eritrean independence to a deadly rivalry that led to the outbreak of hostilities from May 1998 to June 2000, with claiming approximately 70,000 lives from both sides. The border conflict cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Disagreements following the war have resulted in a stalemate punctuated by periods of elevated tension and renewed threats of war. The stalemate led the president of Eritrea to urge the UN to take action on Ethiopia with the 11 letters penned by the president to the United Nations Security Council. The situation has been further escalated by the continued effort of the Eritrean and Ethiopian leaders in supporting opposition in one another's countries. In 2011, Ethiopia accuses Eritrea of planning bombs at an African Union summit in Addis Ababa, which was later supported by UN report. Eritrea denied the claims. A peace treaty between both nations was signed on 8th of July 2018. The next day, they signed a joint declaration formally ending the Eritrean-Ethiopian border conflict. Eritrea is divided into 6 administrative regions. These areas are further divided into 58 districts. The regions of Eritrea are the primary geographical division through which the country is administered. 6 in total. They include the Mekelle Central, Anseba, Gas Barka, the Bug Southern, Northern Red Sea, and Southern Red Sea regions. At the time of independence in 1993, Eritrea was arranged into 10 provinces. These provinces were similar to the 9 provinces operating during the colonial period. In 1996, these were consolidated into 6 regions, Sobas. The boundaries of these new regions are bases or catchment basins. Transport in Eritrea includes highways, airports, railway, and seaports, in addition to various forms of public and private vehicular, maritime, and aerial transportation. The Eritrean highway system is named according to the road classification. The 3 levels of classification are primary, secondary, and tertiary. The lowest level road is tertiary and serve local interests. Typically, they are improved each roads which are occasionally paved. During the wet season, these roads typically become impassable. The next higher level road is a secondary road and typically is a single layered asphalt road that connects district capital together and thus to the regional capitals. Roads that are considered primary roads are those that are fully asphalted throughout the entire leg, and in general they carry traffic between all the major cities and towns in Eritrea. As of 1999, there is a total of 370 kilometers rail line in Eritrea. The Eritrean Railway was built between 1887 and 1932. badly damaged during WW2 and in later fighting. It was closed section by section, with the final closure coming in 1978. After independence, a rebuilding effort commenced and the first rebuilt section was reopened in 2003. As of 2009, the section from Massawa to Asmara was fully rebuilt and available for service. Rehabilitation of the remainder and of the rolling stock has occurred in recent years. Current service is very limited due to the extreme age of most of the railway equipment and its limited availability. Further rebuilding is planned. The railway linking Agordat and Asmara with the port of Massawa has been inoperative since 1978, except for about 5-kilometer stretch that was reopened in Massawa in 1994. A railway formerly ran from Massawa to Bishia via Asmara and is under reconstruction. Even during the war, Eritrea developed its transportation infrastructure by unfasting new roads, improving its ports, and repairing war-damaged roads and bridges as a part of the Wefri Warsai Yika Alo program. The most significant of this project was the construction of the coastal highway of more than 500 kilometers connecting Massawa with Aseb, as well as the rehabilitation of the Eritrean railway. The rail line has been restored between the port of Massawa and the capital Asmara, although services are sporadic. Steam locomotives are sometimes used for groups of enthusiasts. The IMF estimates Eritrea's GDP at $2 billion in 2020, or 6.5 million on a PPP basis. The economy grew at the 3 and 9% annual rate from 2010 to 2020, an improvement from the 1.3% annual rate from 2000 to 2010. The pickup in growth has been attributed to the commencement of full operations in the gold and silver Bisha mine. The production of cement from the cement factory in Massawa, and investment in Eritrea copper, zinc, and Kululi potash mining operation by Australian and Chinese mining companies. Worker remittance from abroad are estimated to account for 32% of gross domestic product. 70% of the Eritrean workforce is employed in agriculture, accounting for roughly 1/3 of the economy. Eritreans' main agricultural products include sorghum, millet, barley, wheat, legumes, vegetables, fruits, sesame, linseed, cattle, sheep, goats, and camels. Tourists in Eritrea makes up less than 1% of the GDP. Sources disagree as the current population of Eritrea, with some proposing numbers as low as 3.6 million and others as high as 6.7 million. Eritrea has never conducted an official government census. There are 9 recognized ethnic groups according to the government of Eritrea. An independent census has yet not been conducted. By the Tigrinya people make up about 55% and Tigray people make up about 30% of the population. A majority of the remaining ethnic groups belong to Afro-Asiatic speaking communities of the Cushitic branch, such as the Saho, Hedareb, Afar, and Bilem. There are also a number of Nilotic ethnic groups who are represented in Eritrea by the Kunama and Nara. Each ethnicity speaks a different native tongue, but typically many of the community speak more than one language. The Rashaida represent about 2% of Eritrean population. They reside in the northern coastal lowlands of Eritrea as well as the eastern coast of Sudan. The Rashaida first came to Eritrea in the 9th century from the Hejaz region. In addition, there exists Italian Eritrean, concentrated in Asmara, and Ethiopian Tigrayan communities, neither in generally given citizenship unless through marriage or more rarely by having it conferred upon them by the state. Eritrea had about 760,000 inhabitants, including 70,000 Italians in 1941. Most Italians left after Eritrea became independent from Italy. It is estimated up to 100,000 Eritreans are of Italian descent. Eritrea is a multilingual country. The nation has no official language, as the constitution establishes the equality of all Eritrean languages. Eritrea has nine national languages, which are Tigrinya, Tigre, Afar, Beja, Bilen, Kunama, Nara, and Saho. Tigrinya, Arabic, and English serve as de facto working language, with English used in university education and many technical fields, while Italian, the former colonial language, hold no government recognized status in Eritrea. It is spoken by a few monolinguals, and Asmara has a Italia di Asmara, a long-running Italian government-operated school. Also, native Eritreans assimilated the language of the Italian Eritreans and spoke a version of Italian mixed with many Tigrinya words, Eritrean Italian. Most of the languages spoken in Eritrea belong to the Ethiopian Semitic branch of the Afro-Asiatic family. Other Afro-Asiatic languages belonging to the Cushitic branch are also widely spoken in the country. The latter include Afar, Beja, Blin, and Saho. In addition, Nilo-Saharan languages, Kunama and Nara, are spoken as a native language by the Nilotic Kunama and Nara ethnic groups that live in the western and northwestern part of the country. Smaller groups also speak other Afroasiatic languages such as the natively recognized Dakhlik and Arabic. The Hiyasi and Had Arami dialect spoken by the Rashida and Had Arami respectively. Eritrea religious groups. Christianity 50%, Islam 48%, others 2%. According to the Pew Research Center, as of 2010, 62.9% of the population of Eritrea adhered to the Christianity, 36.6% followed Islam, and 0.4% practiced folk religion. The remainder observed Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, other faiths, less than 0.1%, or were religiously unaffiliated. The U.S. Department of State estimated that as of 2011, 50% of the population of Eritrea adhered to Christianity, 48% followed Islam, and 2% observed other religions, including traditional faiths and animism. Christianity is the oldest world religion practiced in the country, and the first Christian monastery, Debre Sina, was built during the 4th century. Since May 2002, the government of Eritrea has officially recognized the Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church, Oriental Orthodox, Sunni Islam, the Eritrean Catholic Church, and the Evangelical Lutheran Church. All other faiths and denominations are required to undergo a registration process. Among other things, the government's registration system requires religious groups to submit personal information on their membership to be allowed to worship. The Eritrean government is against what it deems as a reformer or radical version of its established religions. Therefore, a legal radical form of Islam and Christianity, Jehovah's Witnesses, and numerous other non-Protestant evangelical denominations are not registered and cannot worship freely. 3 named Jehovah's Witnesses are known to have been imprisoned since 1994, along with 51 others. The government treats Jehovah's Witnesses especially harshly, denying them ration cards and work permits. Jehovah's Witnesses were stripped of their citizenship and basic civil rights by presidential decree in October 1994. In its 2017 Religious Freedom Report, the US State Department named Eritrea a country of particular concern. On 8th of July 2017, the entire capital city of Asmara was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, with the inscription taking place during the 41st World Heritage Committee session. The city has thousands of Art Deco, Futurist Modernist and Rationalist buildings, constructed during the period of Italian Eritrea. Asmara, a small town in the 19th century, started to grow quickly during 1889. The city also became a place to experiment with radical new designs, mainly futuristic and Art Deco inspired. Even though city planners, architects and engineers were largely European members of the indigenous population, were largely used as construction workers, Asmarinos still identify with their city's legacy. The city is a source of most early 20th century architectural styles. Some buildings are neo-Romanesque, such as the Church of Our Lady of the Rosary. Art Deco influences are found throughout the city. Essences of Cubist can be found on the Africa Pension building and on a small collection of buildings. The Fiat Tagliero building shows almost the height of Futurism, just as it was coming into big fashion in Italy. In recent times, some buildings have been functionally built, which sometimes can spoil the atmosphere of some cities, but they fit into Asmara as it is such a modern city. Many buildings, such as opera houses, hotels and cinemas, were built during the period. Some notable buildings include the Art Deco Cinema Impero, opened in 1937 and considered by the expert one of the world's finest examples of Art Deco style building. Cubist Africa Pension, Eclectic Eritrean Orthodox and the Marian Cathedral and Asmara Opera, the futurist Fiat Tagliero building, the neoclassical Asmara City Hall. Eritrea is a one-party state in which national legislative elections have been repeatedly postponed. According to the Human Rights Watch, the government's human rights record is considered among the worst in the world. Most countries have accused the Eritrean authorities of arbitrary arrest and detention and of detaining an unknown numbers of people without charge for their political activism. Both male and female same-sex sexual activity is illegal in Eritrea, alhamdulillah. A prominent group of 15 Eritreans called the G15, including 3 cabinet members, were arrested in September 2001 after publishing an open letter to the government and President Isaias Afwerki calling for democratic dialogue. This group of dozens of others who were alleged to be affiliated with them are imprisoned without legal charge, hearing trial and judgment. Since Eritrea's conflict with Ethiopia in 1998-2001, the nation's human rights record has been criticized at the United Nations. Human rights violations are allegedly often committed by the government or on behalf of the government. Freedom of speech, press assembly, and association are limited. Those who practice unregistered religions, try to flee the nation, or escape military duty are arrested and put into prison. By 2009, the number of political prisoners was in the range from 10,000 to 30,000. There was widespread and systematic torture and extrajudicial killings, with anyone for any or no reason, including children 8 years old, people over 80 years old, and ill people being liable to be arrested. And Eritrea was one of the world's most totalitarian and human rights abusing regimes. During the Eritrean independence struggle and 1998 Eritrean-Ethiopian War, many atrocities were also committed by the Ethiopian authorities against unarmed Eritrean civilians. In June 2016, a 500-page United Nations Human Rights Council report accuses Eritrea's government of extrajudicial executions, torture, indefinitely prolonged nation service, 6.5 years on average, and former labor, and indicated the sexual harassment, rape, and sexual servitude by state officials are also widespread. Barbara Lochbihler of the European Parliament Subcommittee on Human Rights said that the report detailed very serious human rights violations and asserted that European Union funding for development will not continue as at present without change in Eritrea. The Eritrean Foreign Ministry responded by describing the Commission's report as wild allegations, which were totally unfounded and devoid of all merit. Representatives of the United States and China disputed the report's language and accuracy. All Eritrean aged between 18 and 40 years must complete a mandatory national service, which includes military service. This requirement was implemented after Eritrea gained independence from Ethiopia as a means to protect Eritrea's sovereignty, to instill national pride, and to create a disciplined populace. Eritrea's national service requires long, indefinite conscription. With some Eritreans leave the country in order to avoid. In attempt at reform, Eritrean government officials and NGO representatives in 2006 participate in many public meetings and dialogues. In this session, they answer a question and fundamental at what are human rights? Who determines what are the human rights? And what should take precedence, human or communal rights? In 2007, the Eritrean government also banned female genital mutilation. Alhamdulillah. In regional assemblies and religious circles, Eritreans themselves speak out constitutionally against the use of female circumcision. The city health concerns and individual freedom and being of primary concern when they say this. Furthermore, they implore rural people to cast away this ancient cultural practice. In 2009, a movement called Citizens for Democratic Rights in Eritrea formed to create dialogue between the government and political opposition. The group consists of ordinary citizens and some people close to the government. Since the movement creation, no significant effort has been made by the Eritrean government to improve its records on human rights. In July 2019, UN ambassadors of 37 countries, including Eritrea, have signed a joint letter to the UNHRC defending China's treatment of Uyghurs and other Muslim minority groups in the Xinjiang region. In its 2017 Press Freedom Index, Reporters Without Borders ranked the media environment in Eritrea at the bottom of the list of 180 countries. According to the BBC, Eritrea is the only African country to have no privately owned news media, and Reporters Without Borders said of the public media, they don't do nothing but rely their dominance, belligerent and ultranationalism discourse. Not a single now lives in Asmara. The state-owned news agency censors news about external events. Independent media have been banned since 2001. The Eritrean authorities has reportedly imprisoned the fourth highest number of journalists after Turkey, China, and Egypt. Eritrea has achieved significant improvement in healthcare and is one of the few countries to be on target to meet its Millennium Development Goals for health, in particular child health. Life expectancy of birth increases from 39.1 years in 1960 to 66.44 years in 2020. Maternal and child mortality rates dropped dramatically and the health infrastructure expanded. The World Health Organization, WHO, in 2008 found average life expectancy to be still less than 63 years, a number that has increased to 66.44 in 2020. Immunization and child nutrition have been tackled by working closely with schools in a multi-sectoral approach. The number of children vaccinated against measles almost doubled in 7 years, from 40.7% to 78.5%, and the prevalence of underweight children decreased by 12% from 1995 to 2002. The National Malaria Protection Unit of the Ministry of Health registered a reduction in malaria mortality by as much as 85%, and in the number of cases by 92% between 1998 and 2006. The Eritrean government has banned female genital mutilation, saying the practice was painful and put women at risk of life-threatening health problems. And this is not allowed in Islam, by the way. However, Eritrea still faces many challenges. Although the number of the physicians increased from only 0.2 in 1993 to 0.5 in 2004 per 1,000 people. This is still very low. Malaria and tuberculosis are common. HIV prevalence for ages 15 to 49 years exceeds 2%. The fertility rate about 4.1 births per woman. Maternal mortality dropped by more than half from 1995 to 2002, but is still high. Similarly, the number of the births attended by skilled health personnel doubled from 1995 to 2002, but still is only 28.3%. A major cause of death in newborns is severe infections. Per capita expenditure on health is low. There are 5 levels of education in Eritrea. Pre-primary, primary, middle, secondary, and post-secondary. There are nearly 1,270,000 students in the primary, middle, and secondary levels of education. There are approximately 824 schools, 2 universities, the University of Asmara and the Eritrea Institute of Technology, and several smaller colleges and technical schools. In Eritrea, education is officially compulsory for children aged 6 to 13 years. Basic education 7 years, middle, junior high school. Secondary school 4 years. Post-secondary advanced diploma 3 years. Higher education 5 years. And higher education master 2 years. Statistics vary at the elementary level, suggesting that 70 to 90% of school-aged children attend primary school. Approximately 61% attend secondary school. Student-teacher ratios are high. 45 at the elementary level and 54 at the secondary level. Class sizes average 63 and 97 students per classroom at the elementary and secondary school levels, respectively. Learning hours at school are often less than 6 hours per day. Barriers to education in Eritrea include traditional taboos, school fees for registration and materials, and the opportunity cost of low-income households. The Eritrea Institute of Technology, EIT, is a technological institute located near the town Djibouti, main neft outside Asmara. The institute has 3 colleges: Science, Engineering and Technology, and Education. The institute began with about 2,500 students during the 2003-2004 academic year. The EIT was opened after the University of Asmara was reorganized. According to the Ministry of Education, the institution was established as one of the many efforts to achieve equal distribution of higher learning in areas outside the capital city, Asmara. Accordingly, several similar colleges are also established in different other parts of the country. The Eritrea Institute of Technology is the main local institute of higher studies of science, engineering, and education. The University of Asmara is the oldest university in the country and was opened in 1958. It is currently not in operation. The overall adult literacy rate in Eritrea is 76.6%, 84.4% for men, and 68.9% for women. For youth 15 to 24, the overall literacy rate is 93.3%, 93.8% for men, and 92.7% for women.